So the first question I have is for three of you, actually. The COVID-19 is actually, has occupied us for the past 2 years, and more, almost past 3 years. So I know that it's gonna bring a lot of challenges and strategy changes and things like that to all fronts, right? So for Sunny, in your case, what do you see the in the packaging, advanced packaging technology or marketing field? What do you see the impact of the COVID-19 and the post COVID-19 era? What's your expectation, or what's your vision on that?
Yeah, thanks, Ian, for the question. I see really three different areas where there is an impact. One is just in the nature of the end customer demand. So with the advent of COVID-19, we saw that it has become possible for many people to work from home, access more things from home. And really this has put more demands on the computing infrastructure, not just in the employees' home, but also in the servers which are needed to host all the applications which allow remote work. So I think that has translated a corresponding increase in the market from really for high HPC, which is what we call high performance computing. And that in turn has driven the demand for the SoCs and the advanced packaging, which you see are pretty standard in the industry. So I think that's the first impact, is really just an overall explosion in demand. As you see more and more demands for remote computing, more and more data, the amount of data really has driven an explosion in the demand, which just puts a ripple effect on the entire supply chain, whether it is the demand of the semiconductor companies for more and more equipment, which puts more pressure on equipment lead times. So it's really a ripple effect throughout the supply chain. The second impact of COVID is really on the travel side. I think, as you know, there are many geographies where still travel is difficult. I think probably Taiwan is a good example. I know many people who need to go to Taiwan but are hesitant to go to Taiwan because there is a 10-day quarantine which you have to go through before you actually can do a business meeting, which is a significant commitment of time. So since travel is not possible, that puts more pressure on the requirements of the Industry 4.0 type of activities, such as more virtual work in terms of augmented reality, virtual reality, being able to solve problems remotely, get the data faster so we can collaborate on problems. So I think really that dimension of being able to do the things which you can do in person, but to be able to do real time remotely, no matter where you are. And I think people have figured it out. I think 2 years is a long time where many companies have figured out how to run remote large companies without actually being physically in the location. The third thing I think, which I'm going to talk about specific to Advantest, we have seen a strong demand for our offering called TE Cloud, which is I think we just heard Hi Semi talk about the V93 case. So the test houses are seeing increasing demand for customers who want to work remotely and debug their parts without being in the factory. So that's where we came up with an innovative solution where an engineer in the US can work on a tester in Taiwan. Someone in Taiwan can put the part on the tester while the engineer can be in the US debugging that. So those kind of solutions which allow remote work, even for things which used to be considered that you have to have someone sitting, you have to have an engineer sitting on the floor in the past. Now you can do it remotely. It also helps with the work-life balance. I know some big companies used to lose a lot of engineers because typically engineers used to be told the only way you can fix the problem is go on the tester yourself in the evenings, on weekends, and their family life was affected because they didn't want to do that, and they quit their job or went to a different job because their families were not happy about them staying late to get production time on it, engineering time on a production tester to solve the problem. So I think those are some solutions which I've also seen in explosion in demand. And those I think are some of the implications I see, but I think that's where I'll stop. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sunny. So Dr. Fu, what's your take about that on the ATE front?
Okay. Well, the ATE market has been impacted negatively since the outbreak of the COVID-19 in early 2020. As a ATE equipment manufacturer, we are facing many difficulties, especially on the supply chain. It's hard to get the IC from the chip manufacturer. Some of the orders has been put on back order 25 weeks or even 52 weeks. That's like a year out. That has impacted us in a significant way. That's one. And second, many of the company are becoming global. They are international companies with multiple locations in different countries. That's making communication, traveling a lot harder, especially when you have to quarantine weeks or a month to get back to the team. However, I see some of the government has lifted the mandate and start to reopen business. From a business point of view, I see that ATE is on greater demand, just like the other IC chip makers as well. So post-pandemic, I believe we're gonna experience a rebound even higher than pre-pandemic. So we should be prepared for a larger volume of production.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you. So the same question applies to Peter. So what is the new strategy layout, HiSemi will have in the post-COVID-19 era?
Yeah, okay. Just like before two speeches saying that, I think the COVID-19 is just a short term. We will in the future. I think the semiconductor market will grow very faster, maybe much more better than before. I think the COVID-19 will more and more. Lots of countries' governments will invest much more money and invest much more the construction, and much more demand will be happened. So that I think COVID-19 is a chance. Maybe we can this it's a crisis. It's a crisis is also a chance. We should be semiconductor the life challenge. I think just all of us with semiconductor work so long time working in semiconductor. So I think if we can continue to do good job, continue to do better quality product to end user, and high quality and low cost, just like Moore Law says, we should be create more valuable product and more cheaply more.
Oops. Hi, Peter. We lost your voice again.
So can you think? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Now.
Yeah. Sorry. I think it's a chance. So we should do a better job and a better product to end user, and let the business happen more better than before. I think COVID-19 is also a chance to every semiconductor worker, every company is a more chance, and the more we should more better business in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is to Sony. How are you responding to changing customer expectations on your product, whether it's quality or delivery time?
Yeah, so I think as I think was alluded to, there's definitely an impact on the supply chain
Yeah.
to the chip makers, right? So as the equipment makers, we have struggled with lead times on our components. So that part, I think, again, I think there was an article I read in the New York Times last week where it's at least one of the CEOs commented that they are prioritizing chips for equipment makers. So from that perspective, I think the semiconductor industry really realizes, and I think I've heard a number somewhere that for every chip which goes into a semiconductor equipment, the capacity multiplier is huge. I think it's like 10x. So that's I'm just going by memory, but I think that's an indication that the semiconductor companies understand the criticality of supporting the chips for the equipment which are needed to test more chips, really. So I think from that perspective, I think we are developing more and more closer relationships with our suppliers who are also our customers to make sure that they are supporting us in this critical time. But I think at the same time, we're also working closely with customers on really the part about quality and capacity. As I mentioned when I talked about analytic solutions, we have the solutions which we have really are allowing you to do more with less. So with the same number of testers, if you can get more parts out, better quality parts out with shorter test time, that's as good as having more testers. So I think those are the kind of solutions we are working closely with our customers. So they see the benefit and we find a way to ride through the storm. And at the same time, I think, in a sense, I think it's really a close partnership to work with them to bring up innovative Industry 4.0 solutions, which in a way alleviate the problem, while at the same time we work on the fundamental issues driving the capacity shortage with our semiconductor partners and customers.
Okay,
thank
you. So, well, one more follow-up question. So, you know that also you talked about the digital transformation, right? So what are the biggest challenges facing the semiconductor industry during this digital transformation in your opinion?
Yeah, agree. So that's a good question. I think there's, the answer varies depending on how large a company you are, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have a large company, for you, the digital transformation is not new. You have been doing some aspects of it internally over the years. But the problem is as I mentioned earlier with the Tower of Babel example, these are all siloed solutions. There's one solution in the fab, there's one at wafer test, there's one at system test, and these solutions don't gel together. So the challenge for many companies is how to deal with their existing infrastructure, which they have gotten used to, which doesn't quite do the job they want, but it does serve some useful purpose. At the same time, migrate to the new platform. So I think for some of them, the challenge is in the sense, really, the transition challenge is bigger. For the smaller new companies, like the companies you heard about, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, who are building their own chips now, for them, it's a little bit more straightforward. They are starting with a fresh, clean slate. So they can implement digital transformation rather quickly because they don't have any legacy which they are fighting. So that's, I think, the advantage that you have. And then again, for the companies which are small but not Google or Facebook, there's a question then of investment, because not only do they not have the infrastructure, they also don't have the analytics. They don't have the data scientists. So that's where I think the solution we provided appeals to them, where the big companies have a lot of data scientists, but still they are interested in data analytics solutions. But for the small companies, they want the compute infrastructure and they also want the analytics. So that's why the solution we have I talked about in my presentation, which we give them the one-stop, the full solution, which is the App Store Lite, which gives them access to a lot of analytics, along with the compute infrastructure, whether it is edge computing or cloud computing, to be able to achieve their vision. So I think that's. But again, for smaller companies, the small challenges of the investment. So it takes, I think, the CEO, the management really has to be aligned. There's something they see, and the ones who have a longer term vision on their strategy are making the right investments. The ones who are more focused on the short term challenges, they simply cannot afford to make the investment. So it's a question also of the business condition and the specific business strategy of the company, what they're looking for from the P&L. So those are case by case decisions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. My next question is to Dr. Fu. Teradyne, as one of the ATE provider, right, announces that its system level test white paper a month ago. So what information does that bring to the industry?
Oh, yes. Well, that's a good question you brought up. Well, Teradyne is one of the greatest company in the ATE industry. System level test has been there for a long time, like I mentioned in the presentation. Some people implement it and some company don't. And because test is about test time and cost. The longer you test, the more cost you add to your product. That's why a lot of new company or small company can't afford to do the system level test. However, I see the system on the SoC as a whole system together is getting complicated, and it's hard to just to gauge the performance of a functional test from the whole system. That's why I see emerging test using SLTs. Teradyne responded very quickly with his SLT tester. HYC as a ATE tester has also responded the market with a 3000 series. So in my opinion, I see that SLT is gaining its share back in the test table. That's how I look at it. Okay,
thank you. My next question is to Peter. I myself, actually, I did a graduate study in one of the universities in Hefei. Of Science and Technology of China. I did my master study there. So I had some kind of like idea about the Anhui province and the city, but Chizhou, why did you set up your high semi in Chizhou? Chizhou, I know that it's like a couple of some hundred of miles away from Hefei. Why do you choose it there?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. So just like you know, that China is grow up very fast in semiconductor. Now, like you said, Hefei city is a capital of the Anhui province. That just like your mother university. The lot of the semiconductor company, especially the RD company, set up in Hefei. And Hefei is a downtown. Lots of the design house families is in Hefei city. So Chizhou is just around the 200 kilometers from the Hefei to Chizhou. It's a lot so far away. So the packaging and the testing is, because you know, is a labor. We should be labor and is we should be much more square and a factory. So it's close, just like Taipei and Hsinchu. And I think the manufacturer is close with Hefei. So just before that time, I think it's a good choice to set up the package and testing. The factory in Chizhou is low cost and close, not so far away. It's easier to cooperation with end user customers. Is a first reason. And the second, also the Chizhou is a small city, but all of the governor and some of the policies benefit to the semiconductor, especially for the packaging and testing. that say some lots of benefit that support the equipment purchase and some benefit and also there's some talent people join the city. We have this talent is cause just like Shenzhen and Shanghai, Beijing, the apartment is very expensive. You know, if you stay in Beijing and Shanghai, Shenzhen is very expensive. Where living room is expensive. But here if one management or supervisor working in high semi in Chizhou can easier to buy an apartment and is living house is easier. And so this is a very good place, very good season is close to Yangtze River and transportation and logistic, and also all of the societies are very nice and silent, just like Hsinchu. I always say that it's very silent. It's easier to stay and to do a good job. Yeah, it's my thinking. Also,
Away from a beauty city,
yeah, it's a beauty city also. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I have my one last question for all three of you, right? So this one is like actually one of the audience asked. You know, we all need new cars, right? But now, hey, we are short of auto chips. So any idea on when the shortage of auto chips would be resolved? I want to get the answers from all three of you. Therefore, we have some idea. So Sunny, can you start first?
Okay, yeah, just sure. Before I start, can I just make one comment on the system test question, which was asked earlier? I'm also happy to say that Advantage is a system test solution, ATS 5034, which we've been selling for a few years. So definitely system test is a growth area for us as well. Just want to point that out. So back to the question you asked about the automotive chip shortage. I think, you know, at this point, really, there is, I think if anybody tells you they have definitive answer on that, they are speculating. So I would not trust anybody's answer, including myself, if we give the answer. So having said that, though, I think, so I expect the automotive chip shortage to last longer than the shortage on the overall semiconductor industry. The reason is if you look at all the announcements out there by the big names, right, Intel, TSMC, and so on, they are really more focused on the leading nodes. They're not focused so much on the mature nodes. There's not a lot of investment which is happening on the mature nodes. When I say mature nodes, these are 65 nanometers and higher, which are needed for the automotive industry. So until that situation improves, there is some investment being announced there, but not to the extent you see in the other ones. So I think if the demand for electric vehicles stays strong, and that's a big if, because as you know, for automotive shortages, it's not just the semiconductors, there's other shortages also. I think there's shortages of substrates, there's shortages of metals. After the Ukraine war, people are talking about shortage of metals, which are needed for electric vehicles. So if you can't get nickel, you can't get some of these things, then even if you have the semiconductors, it doesn't really help you get more cars. It doesn't help you get the extra cars you want, right? So I think there is it's a multidimensional problem. And I think part of the solution may also come, for instance, there is a industry news that the communication sector is slowing down. That actually could be good news for you to be able to get a car, because there's some of the chips which are used in the car are actually quite a bit. There's things in common, like you still need the transistors, the diodes, which go inside the cell phone. You still need them in a car as well. So the reason I think the automotive shortage, if you look at it, got worse is because all those chips were actually, they just moved over from the automotive industry because the auto guys didn't forecast enough demand, and so the communication guys took it over. So I think that demand softening is actually good news for the automotive industry in terms of being able to get more supply in the medium term. After some of the short-term problems with China, I think will be resolved soon. So I think if you treat that as a purely short-term issue, then I think the prognosis for the automotive industry, I think, is better in terms of supply, at least in my mind. When it actually ends, I think it depends, because I think there's also other factors, like I believe there's some double ordering going on. The automakers have been burned, so they are ordering in multiple places. But there are some good things, like the automakers who are relying on the tier one are directly talking to the chip makers, which is a good news. if GM and Volvo are talking directly to the semiconductor companies and placing their orders instead of going through tier one OEMs, that's actually much more. That's one of the reasons the auto industry got into trouble. So I think there are systemically there's a lot of good things happening, which are positive for the resolution of that shortage. Sorry, I took too long on my answer.
No, it's okay. Thank you. So, Dr. Fu, what's your take?
Yeah, chip shortage is gonna be there for a while, and how long is the while? That's a $1 million question. So when you order parts, when you got a lead time of like 4 weeks, 8 weeks, well, I recommend consider it double that. And when you see a lead time of 52 weeks, that means they don't even know when they're gonna provide it. So the best strategy as a designer point of view, it's better to design it with multiple resources or alternatives. And which is from another point of view to ATE provider to us, I see this as a good thing, meaning there's a pile of chip to be made and there's pile of chip to be tested, and therefore the demand for our ATE tester handlers are going to be higher.
Yeah. Okay. So you somehow connect it with your business instead of your need for a new car. Okay, so so Peter, what do you say about this? I mean, yeah, you are in China, right? I don't know what about the the car shortage in China? It's kind of different from here, right? Because here I know that my friend, he had an old car and he sold it like more expensive than a new one. He was like so happy. I don't know that what is the case in China now.
Yeah, also just like before to speech saying similar, but I think also the chip shortage maybe should be depend on the wafer foundry, because now foundry is a shortage because automotive chips is a lot of kinds of the chips. So that if one car maybe is one wafer in 12-inch with devices, so lots of kinds of the devices. But now the foundry capacity and delivery is very shortage. So if in my thought, maybe 1 year later, the foundry capacity will release. At that time, I think that 1 year later, maybe the automobile chip will be released. Will be some will can be solved in my thoughts. But we will stay also in China also. It's a shortage for the automotive chips. Even some car maker will stop the capacity, stop produce because they haven't cannot get the much more the wafer or IC chips on hand. So similar, I think should be either 1 more year later. Yeah, it's my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, hopefully we can resolve that so we all can have good new cars. Thank you very much. So that I think we are close to exactly the proposed time for the seminar. Thank you very much. I think it's a very informative and very successful seminar from all the speakers. Thank you very much. And also thank you, Peter, especially because you got up very early and come to the company. Right? Yeah. Thank you very much. So yeah, thank you for supporting CASPA, and we will post the slides and the recorded video of your speeches on our webpage, or for the members. So if you do not want us to share your slide, please let us know. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So have a nice weekend. Thank you.